London, the world city. On the streets of the British capital, you will hear over 300 different languages being spoken, including Arabic and Urdu. People say London is multicultural. But what does multicultural actually mean? London is a popular destination for immigrants from all over the world who come to the city looking for the chance to make new lives for themselves. After the Second World War, thousands of people arrived from the West Indies, with many settling in Brixton in South London. There are also people in the city from India and Pakistan, Bangladesh and China. London today is more diverse than ever, with thousands of immigrants arriving from Europe, Africa and Asia. Brick Lane in the East End of London is famous for the Bangladeshis who live there. Many people in London belong to Black, Asian and minority ethnic groups, or BAME. By 2040, it is believed that people in the BAME groups will outnumber whites. Multiculturalism means being tolerant towards and accepting of the cultural differences between people. It celebrates different languages and ways of life, rather than being fearful of them. London is a very exciting city, with its own special cultural mix. Welcome to London. Welcome to everywhere.
Apologies for my absence these past couple of weeks. I've been quite ill. You can probably still hear it a bit in my voice. Believe it or not, it's hard to record videos when you're coughing your lungs up every 10 seconds, unfortunately. But that's not the full story. Even if I couldn't speak, I could at least write. And while I was under the weather, I was trying to write several videos that I could record once I recovered. However, no matter how hard I tried, how many scripts I started, I couldn't finish any of them. I must have written about 4 half videos before hitting a brick wall and giving up. Maybe I'll make them in the future, I don't know. I want to be completely honest with you all, as best as I can be. I started this channel originally to vent and get things off my chest, and now I feel like doing that more than ever. In fact, I feel like it's necessary. For lack of a better term, I'm feeling incredibly black-pilled these days. Or at least I am on some days. I could wake up tomorrow and feel completely different. At the start of the year, I was very positive. But today, and over the previous week, yeah, pretty black-pilled. I know I've said in the past, despite the severity of the topics I talk about on this channel, that deep down I am an optimist and that I do believe things can get better. Well, it's getting harder and harder for me to feel like that. Now, I'm hoping this is just a temporary state of mind and I'll get past it. I'm not going to delete my channel or anything. In fact, I have some really exciting stuff planned for this year. But I thought it would be worthwhile to at least speak about this anyway, as thousands of us experience this on a day-to-day basis. I'll try not to make it too gloomy, but at the same time, I'll try to express myself as accurately as possible. And truthfully, I'm looking for a bit of encouragement too. If you guys have any positive outlooks for the future, please feel free to post them down below. I'd like to read them. Why do any of us care about the things we care about? Why do I spend a significant amount of my time making my videos? Why do you watch them? Why does hearing about some of these issues make our blood boil, and why do we get so riled up about it all? All I want is a nice life. A simple life where I can enjoy the things I enjoy and be around the people I care about. I'm not asking for much. I don't care about becoming rich or trying to get famous or anything like that. I'm a straightforward type of bloke. I like reading books, talking about cinema and going to the pub. That's it. That's me. Oh, I'm very exciting. I'd like to get a dog one day. One of those big dumb ones that drive you mad. That'd be nice. But my point is, the things I want are very ordinary, and I'm sure you can relate. Yet, my very basic desires are under threat every single day by a governing group of people who simply don't give a damn about the normal citizen. Oh, hang on. Stop the presses. Politicians don't care about the people. Oh, shock horror, iconoclast. This is brand new information. Yeah, I get it. Everyone knows this is the case. People talk about it all the time, but It does get to me, you know, the reality of that. These people just don't care. My simple ambitions in life could be thwarted by the things these so-called leaders do. The dogmatic worshipping of multiculturalism, a system that has proven to not work, that creates conflict in otherwise harmonious societies, is forced upon us every day. And while many people are sick of it, nothing is slowing it down or hindering its expansion. It moves along unopposed like a freight train, changing our cities and towns beyond recognition, and unfortunately, I don't think me sitting in a room making YouTube videos can do very much to stop it. London, our capital city, has become ever more detached from the country it's supposed to represent. It's unique in the sense that it's ravaged with crime and murder, along with barbaric foreign practices such as acid attacks. Its demographic makeup is undeniably un-British and getting worse, yet the city still holds an unbelievable arrogance, a sense of superiority, and the hip young people who live there place themselves on a higher moral ground than the rest of us and are completely consumed by the lie that London survives upon. Our democracy is a sham. Contrary to what we're told, we can't influence much of anything with our vote. We're fed an illusion of a multi-party system, but really we're a two-party state. Labour or Conservatives, red versus blue, left versus right, sort of. And these people aren't any different from each other. They all serve the same masters, they all need to toe the line. If any of them do dare to stand up for something real, they're destroyed by the system itself. People like Enoch Powell, for example. Yet, so many people fight endlessly over this. Labour are bad because of X. Tories are bad because of Y. You're a bad person for believing this, etc. I'll admit, I've done it myself on this channel. Everyone has. But we all know really that for anything major to happen in the West, our political structures as we know them need to come tumbling down sooner rather than later, because they are leading us to ruin. We may score the odd electoral victory here and there, but eventually the pendulum will swing back the other way. And this stagnation that eats away at us and the apathy it creates will only continue to exist. The whole thing is rotten. You hear talk from various figureheads, even people I respect like Douglas Murray for instance, who will praise the institution of Parliament, its sovereignty, British democracy itself. And I think, well, what good has it done us lately? The Palace of Westminster would serve this nation better as a museum. While these pre-selected, hollow administrators go through the motions, push policy and cheerlead for their respective teams, no thought is given for the future. Decisions are made without thinking of the consequences. Their primary goal is to be re-elected in 5 years' time, not to set the country up to be better off after 100. Politics is a very self-satisfying industry. The culture of instant gratification that so plagues the rest of society is also prominent in the halls of power, replacing any sense of greater responsibility that should be there. I live near Durham Cathedral, a truly stunning building that stands in stark contrast to the civilization that now surrounds it. At the beginning of its construction in 1093, the men building it knew full well that they probably wouldn't live to see its completion. They'd die long before that. However, they understood that they were creating something that was meant to last. Something that would benefit the people of the future, their children. They were part of something bigger than themselves. That line of thought, as far as I can see, doesn't really exist anymore. Now, we can consume things as quickly as we can discard them. That sense of value has been lost. We don't even value ourselves anymore, beyond the obvious national collective guilt that we're told to feel, as well as the racial and ethnic elements that feed into that. Our country doesn't strive for anything. What is Britain trying to achieve in the world now? What's its purpose? Long gone is the confidence of previous generations about what Britain is and should be. Now we just exist. We sit here like a dead volcano. The fires have long been extinguished. And now the best we can do is endlessly preach about diversity and tolerance and endlessly apologize for the things we used to do, like every other Western nation, completely indistinguishable. Having pride in what this place used to be, what it used to look like, and the ideals it tried to hold itself to. Well, that's just a silly, primitive mindset. There's nothing to be proud of, guys. There's not even such a thing as a real Brit to begin with, didn't you know? This lack of direction, lack of confidence and identity filters down onto the population. Walk through a city centre on a Saturday night and see what our young people occupy themselves with. I live next to Newcastle. It's astonishing. The nihilism is real. The enthusiasm for self-destruction is obvious for all to see. Try talking to most of these kids about the problems of the day, and they'd likely have no clue what you're talking about. Blissfully unaware. Or they simply don't care about anything. But in 10 years' time, they'll wake up and they'll see the world differently. They won't recognise their neighbourhoods, and what's worse is, by then, they'll be so entrenched in the day-to-day grind of their lives, their low-paid office jobs, that to stand up and speak out will be too much of a personal and financial risk. Having such tight control over people's finances, oh wow, that is an advantageous position to hold, isn't it? Especially when people are earning less, and another financial crash is just over the horizon. Those who speak out now are constantly threatened and attacked. The only chance millions of people have had in their lives to force meaningful political change in Britain via the ballot box with Brexit has been largely disrespected. In the biggest vote in British history, the winning side have been made to feel like the losers, like they've done something wrong. Now they must repent, and the vote must either be reversed or held again, because the ruling class simply can't let the common man tell them what to do. The Japanese car manufacturer Nissan has a huge production factory in Sunderland, my hometown. It employs over 7,000 local people, and it's not an exaggeration to say that almost everyone up here knows someone who works there. Well, this week the media have been pushing the news that Nissan have decided not to produce a certain model of car at the Sunderland plant. The anti-Brexit people have, of course, jumped all over it, saying that this is purely a direct result of Britain wanting to leave the EU, and in order to save jobs, those precious, precious jobs, Brexit must be stopped. Remainers are also gleefully pointing out that Sunderland was one of the highest Leave voting areas in the entire country. And I've seen many remarks under online articles from smug middle-class idiots, laughing and almost rejoicing at the possibility of so many working-class Leave voters in Sunderland losing their jobs. That'll teach them, that'll show them the errors of their stupid ways. There's nothing like taking pleasure in threatening thousands of people's livelihoods to score party political points, is there? The government have also been reported to have offered Nissan tens of millions of pounds in an attempt to convince them to commit to their Sunderland production line. The reason this pisses me off so much is because it shows just how pathetic our political establishment is and how weak portions of our populace are. Britain's elite have essentially forced the country to its knees, begging and throwing money at a foreign corporation to have pity on the British worker and to keep giving us their business. Yet, these are the very same people who have gutted Britain of its own manufacturing and sold off its industries one by one overseas. Oh yes, Sunderland jobs are so important now, aren't they? But when we closed all of those mines, glassworks, steelworks and shipyards over the course of several decades, that was just business. When tens of thousands of people were made dependent on state welfare, many who never found work again, that was just the price we were willing to pay for the benefits of globalization. Now, our own factories have been replaced with Japanese ones, and we have to beg them to like us, to stay. Oh yes, those Neanderthals from Sunderland are like turkeys voting for Christmas apparently. It's this total lack of respect for the working class, the total denial of the reality of these people's lives, and the refusal to understand the factors that drove them to vote for Brexit in the first place that really winds me up. Life for them was never great to begin with. Then the globalist ideals stole their trades from them. And now you're demanding they bend the knee to the very system that has stabbed them in the back? Fuck off. I think I'll wrap this up now before I go on like a broken record. You get the idea, don't you? It must be said that I'm not black-pilled about everything right now. For example, the rise in nationalism across mainland Europe is something to absolutely be celebrated and encouraged, and I do think we'll score some major victories in the coming years. Britain though, I think we're behind everyone. There doesn't seem to be any realistic avenues to influence the sort of uprisings we're seeing in Italy, for example, here. Will a legitimate nationalist movement ever be represented in our parliament? I have my doubts. The deck is heavily stacked. But it's when I see such blatant disregard and disrespect for the native people of this country, that's when I really get down about it all. That's the hard part to stomach. They've done a hell of a job on us, and I hope we can see ourselves out of this mess at some point. Today though, I have to be honest and say I'm feeling pretty pessimistic. I'm sorry to dump these thoughts on you, but if I'm not open on this channel, where the hell can I be? Tell me I'm wrong. Make me see the light at the end of the tunnel, I beg of you. Go wild. But anyway, I'll see you next week when I'm fully recovered. Until then, have a good one.